Before the safety pins, before the manufactured anarchy, there was just a man, a microphone, and a stage covered in broken glass. They called him the godfather of punk, but that title feels entirely too polite for what he actually was, a walking, howling open wound. While his contemporaries chased chart-topping fame, Jim Osterberg ripped off his shirt, dragged himself through shattered bottles, hurled his bare flesh into the crowd, and dared the world to tear him apart. He bled on stage so an entire generation of outcasts wouldn't have to bleed in silence. Yet, here lies the most chilling paradox of his legacy. The frontman who seemed the most chemically and physically destined for a tragic, premature death is the one who outlived them all. How did the ultimate architect of musical self-destruction quietly orchestrate the greatest survival story in rock history? The answer isn't found in the deafening noise of his past, it's hidden deep within the scars. James Newell Osterberg Jr. was born on April 21, 1947, in Muskegon, Michigan. He was the only child of Luella Osterberg and James Newell Osterberg. The family soon settled into a small trailer in a modest trailer park just outside Ypsilanti, Michigan. Growing up in that tiny home, he fell in love with drumming in 5th grade. He attended Ann Arbor High School in Michigan, then briefly attended the University of Michigan in 1965, before dropping out to pursue a career in music. He first played in a high school band called the Iguanas, where he earned the nickname Iggy. He later joined the blues-oriented Prime Movers before heading to Chicago to play drums with harmonica legend Big Walter Horton. In 1967, he formed the Stooges, initially called the Psychedelic Stooges, with brothers Ron Ashton on guitar and Scott Ashton on drums, plus bassist Dave Alexander. Then Jim Osterberg officially became Iggy Pop. Influenced by blues, free jazz, the MC5, and the raw roar of Detroit's auto industry, they rejected hippie peace and love for something primal, aggressive, and nihilistic. Their self-titled debut album dropped in 1969, produced by John Cale of the Velvet Underground. Tracks like I Wanna Be Your Dog and No Fun delivered simple, brutal riffs and Iggy's snarling vocals. It didn't sell much at the time, but it planted the seeds of punk. Then came Funhouse in 1970, which many consider one of the greatest albums ever made. By then, drugs were taking hold, and the band's live shows were becoming legendary, for all the wrong and right reasons. Iggy Pop didn't just perform, he attacked the stage. He rolled in broken glass, smeared himself with peanut butter, cut his chest with drumsticks, and dove headfirst into audiences. His wild, dangerous shows felt like primal rituals, and helped inspire both punk rock and performance art. After a brief split in 1971 due to heroin and chaos, the band reformed as Iggy and the Stooges with guitarist James Williamson. A huge Stooges fan David Bowie stepped in during 1972, and helped produce their third album, Raw Power, released in 1973. That record, featuring razor-sharp tracks like Search and Destroy, Raw Power, and Gimme Danger, became a blueprint for punk. Though commercial success was limited and the mix was controversial, its influence stretched from the Sex Pistols and the Ramones to Nirvana and beyond. The band's chaotic final performance in 1974 was captured on the live album Metallic KO, released in 1976. It featured audience hostility and Iggy's raw defiance. But the Stooges imploded again in 1974 amid addiction and poor sales. Deep in addiction and nearly broken, Iggy reunited with Bowie in the mid-1970s. Together they moved to West Berlin to escape the chaos and get clean. In this creative haven, Iggy launched his solo career. He released The Idiot in March 1977, a dark, experimental album that heavily influenced post-punk and new wave. It featured tracks like China Girl, later a hit for Bowie, and Nightclubbing, featured in Trainspotting. Then in September 1977, he released Lust for Life. The title track, with its iconic drum riff inspired by a military call signal, became Iggy's signature anthem, used in countless films, ads, and soundtracks. The Passenger captured cruising through life with detached cool. Bowie produced and co-wrote both albums, while Iggy handled most of the lyrics. These albums proved Iggy could evolve beyond pure punk into art rock while keeping his edge. Then he continued his solo career with albums like New Values in 1979, Soldier in 1980, Blah 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 in 1986, again with Bowie, Brick by Brick in 1990, featuring his only US Top 40 hit, the duet Candy with Kate Pearson, American Caesar in 1993, and Naughty Little Doggy in 1996. After decades of solo work, he acted in films, stayed relevant, and reformed the Stooges multiple times starting in 2003. They released The Weirdness in 2007, and Ready to Die in 2013. But tragedy struck when Ron and Scott Ashton passed away, leading to the band's final end around 2013 to 2016. Iggy then released Post-Pop Depression in 2016 with Josh the jazz-oriented album Free in 2019, and the energetic punk rock album Every Loser in 2023. The Stooges were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2010, and in 2020 Iggy received a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Through it all, he never softened, he never sold out. He stayed raw and influenced generations by showing that rock and roll could be dangerous, poetic, ugly, beautiful, and utterly alive. And while the music made him immortal, it also built a surprising level of financial success over the decades. Today Iggy Pop's net worth is estimated at around $20 million. Not bad for a guy who once lived in a trailer park and survived on next to nothing. His wealth comes from songwriting royalties on legendary tracks like Lust for Life, The Passenger, I Wanna Be Your Dog, and Search and Destroy. These songs continue to earn through streaming, film and TV placements, commercials, and reissues. Lust for Life alone has been licensed countless times and still generates steady income. Add to that revenue from album reissues, licensing deals, and select live performances. Even in his late 70s, Iggy still headlines festivals and special shows when the moment feels right. He's also earned money through acting roles in films and television over the years, plus smart brand collaborations that felt authentic rather than desperate. And with that kind of financial freedom after decades of struggle, Iggy has finally been able to enjoy a lifestyle that reflects both his wild past and his calmer present. His first marriage in 1968 to Wendy Weisberg lasted only a few weeks. And he has a son, Eric Benson, born in 1970, from an earlier relationship with Paulette Benson. Though their relationship didn't last, Eric remains part of his life. Then he married Japanese actress and model Tsuchi Asano in 1984. They were together for about 15 years before divorcing in 1999. That period saw both some of his greatest creative highs and some of his deepest personal struggles. Then came the relationship that finally stuck. While living in Miami, Iggy met Nina Alou in 1999, a former flight attendant and Howard University graduate. They moved in together soon after being married in 2008. Nina has been his anchor, bringing calm, strength, and balance to the wild man of rock. Together, they've built a quiet, loving life away from the spotlight. And when he comes to hobbies, Iggy has always been a passionate art lover. He enjoys visiting galleries, looking at paintings, and has even posed for life drawing classes. He's collected interesting pieces over the years, and surrounds himself with creative energy. But music remains a central part of his life. He hosts the popular weekly radio show, Iggy Confidential on BBC Radio 6 Music, where he shares new and obscure tracks he loves. He's also a devoted dog dad and animal lover. For years, he was frequently seen walking his beloved Chihuahua, Biggie, around Miami neighborhoods. A surprisingly tender image for the man, who once called the wildest performer in rock. And one surprising fact? Despite his wealth and iconic status, Iggy has never gone full Hollywood. He prefers a relatively grounded, artistic existence over flashy extravagance. He still values simple pleasures, good books, interesting conversations, and staying creatively hungry. That balance between raw authenticity and hard-earned comfort is perfectly reflected in the homes he's chosen to live in. His primary residence is a beautiful waterfront mansion in the exclusive Coconut Grove neighborhood of Miami. He purchased the property in 2016 for around $4.1 million. The 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom home offers over 5,200 square feet of elegant living space, with dramatic 20-foot ceilings in the entryway, black limestone floors, a private library, and a stunning outdoor entertainment pavilion, complete with a barbecue area overlooking a swimming pool and canal. In a touching gesture of love and trust, Iggy later transferred the entire property solely into the name of his wife, a quiet sign of the stability they'd built together. And before that, he owned a large estate in Palmetto Bay that he bought in 2006. That home sat on over an acre with a pool, tennis court, and plenty of space, reflecting a different phase of his life. He eventually sold it, choosing to focus on the more intimate and luxurious Coconut Grove setting. No sprawling mega mansions or celebrity compounds. Just a beautiful, private home where he finds peace, joy, and lives on his own terms. And while his home gives him a peaceful base, Iggy has never been one to completely abandon the thrill of power and movement. For years, Iggy's daily driver has been a customized Rolls-Royce Phantom drophead, a powerful, chopped convertible with a gangster look that he bought used. He loves it for Miami's traffic and the way it soothes his stage-worn back. He's also owned several Rolls-Royces over time, including a yellow 1980 Corniche convertible that famously caught fire while he was driving and listening to the Beatles. Back in his earlier Miami days, he owned a striking electric blue 1984 Ferrari 308 GTS, a car he absolutely loved racing on the freeways. He eventually sold it after a high-speed run-in with the police, deciding it was getting too dangerous. He's also had classics like a 1956 Chevy Nomad, a 1992 Ford Bronco, and a 1966 Jeepster Commando. He prefers buying used vehicles to avoid the hassle of new car paperwork, and he chooses rides that feel authentic rather than flashy status symbols. Now 79 years old, Iggy Pop stands as a living testament to rock and roll endurance. The godfather of punk is still performing with raw power that defies his age. Just weeks before his 79th birthday, he delivered a high-energy set at Coachella 2026, closing the show theatrically by climbing into a coffin and being wheeled off stage as the band played on. A perfect blend of humor, rebellion, and showmanship. And he still tours selectively, with dates lined up through 2026 including major festivals. He's taken breaks from his BBC Radio 6 show Iggy Confidential to focus on new music projects, and fans are buzzing about the possibility of fresh material on the horizon. Despite some physical wear, scoliosis, and the natural toll of a lifetime on stage, Iggy remains remarkably vital. He's spoken candidly about the challenges of aging, but his message is clear: he's still creating, still connecting with new generations, and still refusing to soften his edges. From a boy in a Michigan trailer park to a shirtless force of nature who helped invent punk, Iggy Pop never followed the rules. He wrote his own. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Iggy's incredible life, hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment, and turn on notifications so you never miss future stories of rock legends like this.